So I'll do a quick intro, and we're actually recording this. So anybody that misses this, we're going to throw on the YouTube channel as well. And then hopefully the audio is good. We'll pull the audio for our podcast series that we're starting too. So my name is Tony Armour. I am the film commissioner here. I just started in January. And a lot of time, I've met a lot of you already, but I'm going to give everyone the spiel all over again for those people that might be new. I came from St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, where I'd been the film commissioner there for the last 9 years. I started a film festival in St. Pete called the Sunscreen Film Festival. We have our 18th annual festival at the end of April this month. I've also been a filmmaker for many years, feature films, documentaries, short films, a little bit of everything. Myself have played a lot of film festivals around the world, and so have experience in the film festival world, which is why this is I think a topic that everyone's interested in hearing about. And then I'm going to pass the virtual microphone and let the rest of the guests introduce themselves and give us a little bit about themselves as well.
Hi, my name's Rebecca. I am the CEO and founder of a company called the Film Festival Doctor. And what I do is I'm a film festival consultant, and I help filmmakers get their films seen in festivals around the world. I've had quite a few films at Tony's Festival Sunscreen over the years, and for a very long time. Had films at all the other festivals here as well, so I'm very proud and very excited to have so many films there. And yeah, people come to me with a problem being, I need to get my film to festivals, which ones, how do I do it? And I solve that by putting them in the right festivals for them.
Great.
Right. And that last thing you said is really important, the right festival.
Yes, the right
Which
festival.
I think is a big deal. I'm Bart Weis. I used to run the Dallas Video Festival until I didn't. For 34 years. So I produced the show Frame of Mind. Hopefully you have a postcard and a button. The call for entries are up on April 7th, so you still have a few more days. And I do programming for other people. So I've looked at a lot of short films in my life. Anyway, so please, if you have a good film, send it to the number on the card. And just realize, in a film festival, you might get 400 people to watch your film. On Frame of Mind, more than 20,000 people will watch your film. And we pay $10 a minute. Just saying.
There you go. Right. That's better than what Amazon pays for.
What do you got on that?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Sorry, James.
But also, this is coming up and it's friggin' awesome, and you got to make sure you're here, as well as Oak Cliff. I mean, it's really important to say we have great festivals in this town because we have great people who run them. Really great people who run them.
Now go.
Okay, now, that's a lot. Thank you. If you don't know, Bart is the OG of film festivals in the city, so he was doing it back when it was on film. So, yeah, it was good. I'm James Faust, the artistic director for the Dallas International Film Festival, April 28th through May 5th, so I'm a little bleary, coming up in 2.5 weeks. And yeah, I started out watching shorts, and I still watch shorts from now and then, and I hope to offer insight to this conversation. Yeah, I'm tired, so let's go to him.
All right.
Hi, I'm Ashton Campbell. I'm a co-director of the Oak Cliff Film Festival, as well as one of the partners here at the Texas Theater. Our festival is June 22nd to the 25th. We are currently in programming mode right now, watching a bunch of films. Yeah, that's kind of all I got with that. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Merced Elizondo. I'm a filmmaker based here in Dallas. And yeah, just hope to provide some valuable insight for you guys today. Everything I'm going to mention is just based on pure experience, so there's no right or wrong answer, but it's just the way I did things, and I hope you guys find it valuable.
Well, you cut your bio short there.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a couple of the festivals you've played in?
Yeah, my last film is called Mano Zero, Hands of Gold. Played at a number of festivals since 2020. The Holly Shorts Film Festival, New Filmmakers Los Angeles, the HBO Tomorrow's Filmmakers Today program. Did a program with the Academy. We did a bunch. I'm very fortunate that we had a really wonderful festival run and got into a lot of great festivals and won awards and got a lot of press. So using that lens to try to provide some insight for you guys. But yeah, we've definitely made the rounds and hope to continue to do so in this next project that I got coming up. I'm working on it as we speak. So
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Everything for the pod, right? Right, Tony? My name is Barack Epstein. With Ashton, I run the Texas Theater here, and we run the Oak Cliff Film Festival, kind of as two different entities. The Texas Theater is the everyday entity that shows movies, has events, has concerts, all sorts of stuff. And then the film festival is just a 4-day event run by a nonprofit called the Oak Cliff Film Society. And we also do educational programs throughout the year. Right now we're doing a high school filmmaking program at 4 Oak Cliff in South Oak Cliff. I also have experience from on the filmmaker side. I've had a bunch of films as producer or director, played various film festivals and various forms of distribution over the years. So I can, from the old days, can talk about why they used to call it Without a Box. So.
I completely forgot about that.
But Bart is the OG, like James said.
Yeah.
All right, well, great. So, kind of to get started, then let's, I'll start with the festival. Start with the festival side a little bit. So, as far as the festival goes, we talk about screening films, and films are being submitted, and you put your program together, and you're watching films. Talk a little bit about. I know from my experience, we'll get 700 films submitted for the 4 days of the festival, and you can only play so many films in 4 days. Talk about, whether you want to reveal numbers or not, but just sort of the quantity of films you get, and how do all those films actually get watched so that everybody's film that is submitted gets a fair look to decide whether it goes into a festival or not. Start with you, Bart.
Well, I'm an absolute rarity because I don't have any pre-selection committees, because I've been in pre-selection committees and I've seen what the other groups turn down. And I realized that if I had a pre-selection committee, I'd just go back and watch them anyway. And then I would program something that maybe somebody on my board thought was a good film and I didn't think was a good film. So it meant that anything that somebody submits, they know that I will look at. And that is a really hard thing to do. Your eyes get bleary. And we can talk in a few minutes about what things you can do. But one of the first things to understand is the person watching your film is not just watching your film if it's a short. Nobody watches shorts by themselves. You make it as though it's the only thing in the universe, because you couldn't make it if you didn't do that. But understand that if it's for a grant or for a screening, somebody's going to be watching like 8 films before that and 20 after that. And so if you come to your mindset as you're editing that somebody else is going to be watching a whole lot of stuff, you cut it differently. Anyway.
Oh, Skip, you guys follow that? We do have a committee, so we'll take in about 1,300 screener films, and of that, I'd say 70% of that are shorts. And of those shorts, so we have a screening committee. It's about 15 people, and there's about 5 people dedicated to just watching shorts. Our senior programmer, part of their job is to program the shorts and watch the shorts and run the screening team. The shorts are scored in Film Freeway. We also get shorts. There's a really cool list that comes out of Sundance. The shorts filmmakers put out a list there that they send out. Hey, here are the shorts that are playing Sundance. So we'll take those in and add those in a separate system. Once the scores come up, senior programmer goes back and she will watch every short in the festival. And I feel sorry because that's a lot of films. It's a lot of shorts. I'm watching most of the features, and I'll probably get to now. Back in the day, I'd watch all the shorts as well, but now I'm probably watching 30 shorts a year, possibly, tops. And from that day, then the senior programmer goes in with the couple other people on the shorts and the screeners, and they kind of talk things through, and they take the scores up, and then we actually look at where the films come from, how many shorts we're doing. Are we doing a murder? Are we doing a horror block? Are we doing a comedy block? Are we doing these things? So what's fitting in these spots? Is there a Texas thing? Put these off to the side, and so all those decisions are made through the shorts team. And once that gets done, I'll go through and say, okay, who's going to send me a nasty email? So let me look through here so I can get prepared. Oh, cool, that person's, oh, cool, that's cool. So, and then we program the shorts. And it was arduous this year because I think we had a lot of shorts this year, and it was a lot. And something that was happening that I thought was very that was fascinating that we were, and we'll get into this a little later, we were losing shorts because there are about 3 film festivals after us that require a shorts premiere. And so it kind of made our shorts programmer's life a little hell when they said, no, we're pulling out. I'm like, what? Okay. You submitted, you paid your money, and then you're, okay. Do your due.
Ashton?
So how many
I mean, we get a similar amount of submissions, you know, in that same universe of shorts, and just like James says, a good chunk of the submissions are shorts, and we obviously we have a team that watches everything, and we have a similar structure where there's a pre-team, and then there's a screener team, and then we do during the season we do all these calls, and all the shorts programmers talk about shorts for a period of time, and then all the features programmers talk about features for a period of time, and that's how we kind of power through all the stuff. And we also dig into other festivals, Sundance, South by Southwest, TIFF, all these other film festivals that happen throughout the year, and kind of look for features and shorts. And oftentimes we'll get suggestions, and Merced might be like, hey, my buddy made a film, it's really good, you should look at it, and that actually is pretty helpful, actually, because if it's a blind submissions do make it through the system, but it actually is pretty helpful if you get a referral from someone, so-and-so who knows so-and-so says watch this film because they heard it was good. That actually goes a long way. And do you want to talk about that?
Happened like this year. This is my first year on the programming side of things. I always kind of dealt with the more the events and just kind of everything leading up to it. We kind of have a nice dichotomy how we break it down. But like Brock was saying, we have a team. We don't have a massive team, but it's enough. And we just, we kind of go through the films that way. But, and then tell us, like, I'm doing documentaries this year for OCFF. I'm kind of focusing on that side of things. So I'm getting told, hey, this is something that, Ashton, you should watch this. Or, we've got a couple programmers that have been there for a while. One's back in the day he's in our audience somewhere.
Parker's here.
Parker, there he is. But,
hey, there's Parker.
Yeah, that's Parker May. Everybody should give it up for Parker May.
Yeah.
But, like I just watched something the other day that I thought could be a good fit. But there's a guy who's been programming along with us for a while that I thought, hey, you should put your set of eyes on this because you might know what kind of fit this is for us. And it's not just like, I like this, it's going in there. It's definitely, we have these calls and sometimes they're long and kind of, they can be, draining, but because we're all just kind of going back and forth. But everybody's kind of throwing their 2 cents in, and I think that's better than just like one person saying, okay, I like this, and then you don't ever need to see this because, I didn't think it was good enough. And I got a referral for a movie that I thought from a friend who was at another film festival, and he was like, you should program this movie. She told me that she submitted it to the film festival, and he's like, it's right up there, it's an OCFF type film. So I watched it, and it's kind of there, but like it would have gotten flagged differently had I not gone through and then made 2 other people watch it. Yeah. And that's like so Brock's point with the referral thing. I think that's huge.
Yeah. So I guess maybe I'll rewind a little bit and kind of ask the audience a question here. How many people are familiar with or know what Film Freeway is?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. How many people don't know what Film Freeway is? Okay. All right. So Film Freeway is basically the global film submission platform that all filmmakers use to submit their films to film festivals and film festivals use to accept films. So there are some other festival platforms that are European-based and some different smaller ones, but Film Freeway is generally the global standard. Mm-hmm. And it didn't used to be. Many years ago, there was a company called withoutabox.com that Withoutabox was the only thing out there. Film Freeway came along and did it better. And then Amazon bought Withoutabox, and Film Freeway still put them out of business, essentially. There's a longer story there, but maybe it's a short documentary somebody can make. But basically, if you're going to be submitting a short film to any film festival, you're going to put it on Film Freeway. It's free. You put your film on Film Freeway. You put your electronic press kit up there and links and still photos and the film itself. And then you can literally search through 9,000 film festivals around the world to find the one that you want to submit to. And they're broken down by categories. Top 100 reviewed festivals. You can search by month. I only want festivals to take place in June, or by geographic location, Europe or North America, whatever. And so there are a lot of options out there. And so sometimes it's really hard for people to even decide, where do I even start, when it comes to finding a festival to submit my film to. But that's the starting place as a filmmaker, where you put your information to get started. And then all of these festivals here, we use that platform to kind of look at everything. And so I'm going to ask Rebecca.
Can I say something about
Yeah,
this?
absolutely.
So when you fill out the form, like don't just like do it in 2 minutes, because this is what people are going to be reading to contextualize your film. And my strong recommendation is, if you do like 5 minutes of research about the film, then write a little note. There's a place where you can send a note to the programmer saying that, my lead actor lives in Dallas and will probably come to the screening. Or, I love your film your festival because you played something, something, something that is similar to my film. But if you can personalize it in some way, not all people read that, but it's your chance to like connect to the person who's actually just about to watch your film and give them a context and give yourself a slight leg up. So, and don't be snarky.
It does 100% make a difference to personalize like that with those letters. And so I wanted to ask Rebecca and Merced then, as filmmakers and film festival doctor that are working, with festivals out there. Merced, what is your process when you are submitting to festivals? How do you decide what festivals you want to? Are you using Film Freeway, I guess is the question.
Yeah,
as well?
for sure. I mean,
Yep.
there, like you mentioned, there are a lot of other festivals that just aren't on Film Freeway, like Venice, Berlin, Cannes. I mean, those higher tier ones. South by Southwest, I don't even think they're on Film Freeway either, right? So, you kind of have to go look for their applications. But I break it down in a number of ways. For me, first and foremost, it's fit, right? Because I make very specific, like, dramatic movies. I didn't go to film school, so I self-taught myself everything that I know as a filmmaker, and all the knowledge that I've accumulated just been either by experience or through YouTube or reading like a shit ton of books. All that to say, though, what I do typically, like, let's say, just off the cuff, a festival like Sundance, a festival like South by, Oak Cliff Film Festival, I'll look at the last 3-4 years of what they programmed. I will Google the PDF of their program of 2019, 2020, 2021, and I'll look to see if they program films similar to what I'm going to be submitting. And then I'll mention that in the cover letter. So I'll go, hey, in 2019 you programmed a black and white film in Spanish. My film's a black and white film in Spanish. I think we'd be a good fit for your Texas Latino program, right? So it's about like getting in where you can. So that, to me, right off the bat, I will look at Sundance, South by, Austin, all those festivals, just because, if you're a filmmaker here in the audience, like, that those festival submissions are very expensive, especially if you're extra late deadline. So that's number one. Number two, I try to go for the festivals nowadays that will be career altering. And what I mean by that is, I guess let me contextualize what I just said. I've made 3 shorts in my career. I've been doing this since 2017. My first 2 didn't do much in the way of advancing my career. I was applying to a lot of the local regional festivals that ultimately really don't do much for your career. You'll screen at like a Hilton lobby and you'll get a laurel and you can slap it on your poster and that's it, right? But you want more out of a festival. You want a community like the Dallas Video Fest, Oak Cliff Film Festival, Dallas International. These are festivals that are filmmaker friendly and filmmaker forward, to help enhance your experience as a filmmaker and give you the tools and the knowledge to like either connect with people or to get access to the industry. And that's absolutely what I look for. So I break it down in 3 tiers. It's like that lower level tier of the regional festivals that don't really, I guess do much for you other than like giving you a laurel. You could slap like 100 of them on your poster or on your trailer and like, I guess that's cool, but we want more, right? So it's the middle tier, higher tier festivals that I really tend to look for. So middle tier festivals being like LALIF, Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival, New Filmmakers Los Angeles. These are very filmmaker friendly festivals that provide workshops, master classes, access to industry folks. You'll often get their emails. I've met my producers or my next project, agents, managers, all through just festivals alone. If you get into the one really good festival, it'll change your life. And all it takes is getting it into one really good one, and then from there you'll start to snowball and get into the next one, and the next one, and the next one. My higher tier ones, the third tier where I consider the highest ones, are your Sundances, your Berlin, Venice, Cannes, Telluride, TIFF. These are your Academy qualifiers, the ones that if you get in, they're that you can't help but like get your life changed. So I'm very fortunate that my last project got into some of those, and we did quite well, but. It's just a matter of fit and making sure that you feel and you truly believe that $60 submission is going to give you a chance to get into that festival. So,
and in some cases, a lot more than $60
oh my God,
for certain festivals.
It can be expensive, yeah. So it starts there for me, research and quality.
Yeah. And Rebecca, you manage, obviously, over your career, have managed hundreds of films that you've gotten into festivals. Sort of what is your strategy? How do you approach getting the films into festivals?
So the golden rule before you do any submissions and start using Film Freeway is to have a very streamlined and focused festival strategy. And you have to kind of also know your film and know your festivals. So a lot of people do come to me and say, right, I want to get the film on the circuit. I want to do the Oscar, BAFTA, BIFA qualified festivals. I want to get down that road. But then sometimes the film is not going to be for those kind of festivals. So I have to say it's not going to be for them. We have to go a different route. And then sometimes that can get people quite upset. But also, it's actually been the truth because I'm pretty ruthless and I'm pretty honest with all my clients that I work with, and I will not just take the money and just run with it. I'm very blunt because I have to, and that's my job, is to be honest with them. And one filmmaker actually cried in front of me and said, "Oh, you've just broken my whole dreams." I said, "Well, your film's not good enough, so that's why it's not going to get." So, in a polite way, not like that, too blunt. So, Film Freeway, as you'll probably start to find out, those who have to start using it, or those of you who don't, there's a lot of garbage film festivals on Film Freeway. I need to avoid these online film competition things that are these Accolade Global Film Competition, Best Shorts, all this kind of thing. They're not film festivals. They're these behind closed doors. People review the films and give you an award. You pay for an award. So get rid of that. So you have to know what kind of film you've made and what kind of festivals are going to want to screen it. So, for example, a genre film. Can your genre film break out of the genre film festival niche? Can it go to more general festivals like Tribeca, for example? Has it got a strong story? Does it have a casting? So on and so forth, things like that. So really do your research and really kind of know your film, but also detach from it emotionally. Because if you're still emotionally attached to it and you can't let go of it and see it as a product, then it's going to be more difficult for you. So a little side note here, but one film I worked on was Oscar nominated in 2016, and the filmmaker just wanted to tell the story, and the film was very strong, and it won the Holly Shorts Grand Prix Award for Best of Festival, and then it managed to get luckily Oscar nominated. But he wanted all the top tier, but I said, well, it could do the top tier, but it's a lot of competition and a lot of politics, so let's just go down the route of Oscars and Oscar Qualified Festival and see what happens. And it got that. And it did some other ones as well, like Palm Springs. But he was realistic, but he didn't know what to expect on the journey because it's a very unexpected.
Yeah, and I think that's important to look at. So, everybody talk about the top tier festivals. Sundance always comes to mind, right? Everybody wants to get into Sundance. But Sundance gets somewhere near 10,000, or is it 100,000? I can't remember the numbers. 10,000, all right. So, astronomical number of short films that are submitted, and they accept 100 or less. So it's far less than 1% of films that are getting into Sundance. And you're paying $100. So they're making $1 million a year off of filmmakers submitting short films and only taking 100 of them. And so you just have to kind of look at what is the competition, and like she said, really take an honest look at your film and deciding, do I want to just throw $100 in the garbage can, or, is this something that, and everyone thinks their film's the best film that's ever been made, but you got to talk to friends or family or somebody who will be honest with you if on whether it's really good or not. And so as far as festivals go, there are a lot of things that determine whether a film, and a bug wants to fly in my face, whether a film gets into festivals or not. And so you talked about, is it a fit? Everyone talks about, is it a fit for your festival? And so I know what we do at Sunscreen, and I'll ask you guys kind of what you do as well. Internally on the back end in Film Freeway, you can go in there and you can, everything's in categories. Okay, it's a short film, it's a feature film, it's an animation, whatever. But then you can create all your own internal flags for a film. And so, we'll create all these internal flags that'll say, LGBT, person of color, horror, drama, comedy, breaking down not just the genres of the films, but also themes that are in the films as well, because the goal is to program a diverse slate of films with diverse filmmakers and diverse storytelling at the same time. And so, we'll actively go through and sort just by those flags and see what the films are and see what they've been rated. And you're looking at length. Can you talk a little bit more in depth on your process when a film comes in, when you're really examining it on deciding, is this moving on to that considered stage of potentially going into the festival? And we'll start with you again, Bart.
Well, I do all of those categories, and it's to make sure we program a wide group of things, but also in shorts, like there's some people who just say short block 17 and have a bunch of shorts. I always try to program thematically. So if I'm, thematically are putting those flags in a color or notating them, I know that if I have 3 or 4 films and I got like 40 minutes, I'm looking for like, a 15-minute version of film that will fit that last slot. So those sort of things are really important. And in general, as I'm looking at these, they're generally like 3 kind of major categories, and there's a lot of between there. There's some that it's like, there's no way I'm playing this, right? There's some that are like, there's no way I am not playing this. And then there's a whole variety in between. And the truth of the matter is, I will go back and rewatch something that I really didn't like. And, it's like there was something in the back of my mind, and do I need to see that again? And I will kind of adjust as I'm going through these to figure it out. But particularly with shorts, you're always trying to find a fit. And in case we don't get to this later, let me say this. The shorter your film, the better your chance of getting it. Just absolutely. If you think of, I have an hour slot and your film is 45 minutes, I have to really, 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 really love that, because then I've got to I have less chances of things to fit thematically. And in general, short is always better on a short film. Absolutely. There's no question. And one more thing quickly, start your film strong.
I'm just here for the ride.
Start your film strong. Don't have a pan over, some photos on the counter, and then by the end of that, you're like, oh my God, I never wanted to see this again. But realize people are watching a lot of films, and if you grab my attention in the first 30 seconds, you have my attention.
So Bart, you're not a fan of a long opening title sequence on a short
I
film?
was just going to say, the minute-long
Title sequence on a
After
short.
Effects title sequence on a 10-minute film.
Not only that, but end credits, okay, we're all sitting in a theater. We're watching a whole bunch of shorts. You have a 3-minute film with 1.5 minutes of credits. Stop that.
Yeah.
Like, make one version of that you show to all the people who are in it, and never show that again.
Can I add to that? Is that right? If I can just
Yeah,
add to that
please.
one. So I totally agree with everything that Bart is saying, but one thing I will advise is to not get attached to the magical 15 minutes. Your film needs to be the length it needs to be. So I had a short that was half an hour, and then he made a 15-minute version. I said, why did you do that? Because the whole emotion when the film was gone, it doesn't make any sense. He went, because that's the length of festivals, not this film. So you're right, is that some films do not need to be 15 minutes, need to be shorter or longer, but you're right, get to the action quickly.
Yes.
No like 4 minutes of credits or like the long table sequence, just like get to the action. It's really helpful with the short, but don't attach the 15 minutes. I had an email yesterday from a lady in the UK who said, my film is currently 11 minutes, 30 seconds. So can you please tell me what to do to get to 15 minutes? I said, why? I said, why 15 minutes? She went, well, that's the length that gets you into festivals, isn't it? You should know. I said, well, your film actually needs to be shorter because there's too much dead air. So then she eventually came round to cutting it down, but she was just attached to 15 minutes, and I was like, please stop that.
I mean, 7 minutes can be fine. When you're looking through that list there and you see a film that comes up and it's 3 minutes, you're like, 3 minutes? Oh, we can fit a 3-minute film anywhere if it's halfway decent, fine.
Yes, God bless a 3-minute film.
Yeah.
A good 3-minute film.
A good 3-minute
Good 3-minute film.
And not to keep talking about length like a bunch of guys at a bar. So when you get those movies that are over 30 minutes, and Merced mentioned this.
Point to me after that.
Merced.
Okay.
Oscar qualification is, I think it's 40 minutes.
Yeah, I read about
Up to
that.
45? Yeah, 45 minutes. So some people are looking at that. And even the Oscar qualifying festivals don't often show 45-minute films. It's hard to do that in a block and be, respectful of your time as an audience and filmmaker time, because you want to get as many great films as possible. Shorter is better because I'd say anything under 7 minutes, or 7 to 8 minutes, you have a good chance of being put in front of a film, like a feature film as well.
True,
So
true
you
that.
up your chances of being in a festival. Like, oh, I could put that in front of here because it matches this. So I
Right.
love that part. As far as when we're looking and we're programming, I say to the senior programmer always, I go, look, I need you to be provocative, I need you to be audience facing, and I need you to be, people pleasing. And I go, that's a lot. I go, it's possible to do all these things. Provocative, we always want to be cutting edge at some point. We want to have something that's going to make somebody mad and make somebody think, and I get a letter, I'm totally cool with that. But at the same time, somebody's going to, oh, wow, I thought about that. Oh, man, that baby with the gun makes sense. Just wait.
Just wait.
Just audience facing. So there's a gentleman's agreement amongst all the sort of film festivals in this town that we try not to crisscross films as much as possible. So when I say audience facing, I mean I'm probably at Diff not going to show something that played Video Fest or that played Oak Cliff. Now we've had crossover before. Most recently, actually, we did the Black at SMU premiered here at the Oak Cliff Film Festival last summer, and we still played it. And I think you guys played it at Denton Black Film Festival as well. There's certain films that seem to transcend our rules. Everybody needs to see this.
Very
thing.
important.
Yeah, it's like this is important. This is something we need to do. We've done it 2 or 3 times. Yeah, it's
local. It's got local tie.
Yeah, and sometimes local, we go, well, it's already been seen already. We don't want to do it. But something like that, we kind of make, let's just do it. It makes sense. So a lot of times when you're playing other festivals in a city, and Bart has said this a lot about other cities, if they're like, you're not going to play a film at South by in Austin. That's never going to happen. In Austin, that's never going to happen. You're not going to play the New York Film Festival and Tribeca. That's not going to happen. But so here in Dallas, it might happen because there's 30 freaking film festivals in the DFW area. So you might have a choice. So we look at that, and I also look for audience success as well. Like, is this film for every crazy baby with a gun or bloody head movie singing slasher film, which was really cool if you've ever seen that? There could be something that's sort of Disney-like, whether it's in a family walk or not. The great thing about short films is that it can be everything in a short amount of time. It's hard to hate a short. If you hate a short, that short sucks. I mean, because it's like you're not investing a lot of time in this in your life. You get that back pretty quickly, and the next one is probably pretty good. It's a short film blocks are like gumball machines. Like every now and then you're going to get the coconut and get pissed off, but the other time you're going to get something you like. I'm allergic to coconut, so that's why I use it, so you can have it all.
I don't know how to follow that.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back down to fit. I think that, you were talking about fit and researching, figuring out what they played before, and whether it's a time limit and to Rebecca's point, maybe don't overanalyze it. Just, you don't think you have to get to a certain time limit or a run time just because of a festival. And hopefully you're not just submitting to one festival. So why would you try to get to 15 minutes for this one festival and not another festival? So, I mean, you have to, I think just, it's kind of, don't overanalyze it, make it simple, but do your research and just figure out who you're playing or where you're playing and the blocks, if they have a really good, strong, we have a Texas Student Shorts block. So, if you're a Texas student filmmaker, and you do something that's going to catch your eye pretty quickly, we're probably going to try to program it. If you're local, if it's UNT or SMU or UTA or something around the corner, TCU, then yeah, we might be more prone to try to program that. If it's important, Black at SMU or something like that, phone drop. And, then it needs to be seen. I think that's really important because we don't just target one film festival, hopefully, target multiple and, submit to diff. And because we're not going to program the same thing, even if it is something that we both are program, we program different things than diff does. There's films that are OCFF films. There's films that are straight up diff films. And we know that all the time. And there is a handshake agreement until you program something I want to program. 2 months before our film festival.
And he'll call me like, dude, I'm like, no, sir.
I'll just
You just curse me behind the scenes.
Yeah, we're buddies. So
yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, if you try to fit it, it's about fit, but don't try too hard to just fit into one film festival. I think that's, again, it just goes back to overanalyzing. So you just simplify it.
The only thing I was going to add to that is you may want to figure out your festival strategy statewide, because we were talking about hyper local, and that also is important. But sometimes, if you're trying to get into Fantastic Fest in Austin, but you play another festival in Houston or Dallas, you can't play that festival in Austin. So some festivals actually have state premiere requirements. I think all of us mostly are local premiere with an asterisk requirement. But anyway, yeah. Go ahead.
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Rebecca said just for a second regarding film runtime, I've personally lately seen a proliferation of much longer shorts getting into festivals. This isn't an excuse for you to make a 49-minute short film. I made a 33-minute short film with Manos Oro, my last film, and I, by some miracle, did okay. So we were able to get into some festivals that were notable despite our runtime. But for example, like at Sundance last year, they programmed 7 or 8 shorts that were above 22 minutes. And I know this because I researched. This is what I do. Do your homework as a filmmaker. Like, look into it. And it makes you wonder, like, okay, well, they're starting to be a little more accepting of much longer shorts. So to kind of answer or bring what you mentioned, let the film be what it needs to be in terms of runtime.
But the answer really is it a great film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or, because there have been films that I watched and I said, if this were 5 minutes shorter, I would have put it in the film.
You need to know what your film is. Yeah.
What's
I
that?
watched a film yesterday that I wished was
Right.
like 20
So,
minutes short.
but if the film
It was
is
25 minutes short. No, I'm just kidding.
fucking great, you'll just go for it. Like if it's one of those that you say, like right at the bat, I know, and then you build around that to make that work.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, if it's shorter, your
Shorter the
chances
better.
are better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Merced, you said that so you've done 3 shorts, and your first 2 didn't perform as well as you'd like them to. So why don't you talk about your failures a little bit instead of your successes?
Absolutely.
Because there's that old saying: you learn more from failure than from success, right? So how long were those first 2 that you made, and why? I mean, the first 2 weren't as good as the third one, right?
No, they weren't. I mean, just it comes down to a quality thing. My first 2 shorts were just not good. I mean, they were like film school, like movies. They just weren't good. My first film that was originally going to be like 25, 26 minutes, but it ended up being 14 just because the footage was just so bad. Like the acting in it was just so bad that I only had a solid 14 minutes worth of a movie that I could like put together in an edit and submit. And we got into like literally 2 festivals, one random one in Pennsylvania and the Grapevine Film Festival. So it was enough to, start to like build a community here in Texas because again, I did not go to film school. So that was a way for me to learn. It was just learning by my failure. My second film, I made a genre thriller film. I didn't stick the landing with my ending, but I learned, I knew better. So with my next film, Manos Oro, I made sure that I had my ending right. And there's a lot riding on that too, just because, a lot of us, I know that we self-finance our own projects or we crowdfund. We ask a lot of favors of our friends and family to make our movies. I get it. I've had to make these emails and calling at the 11th hour. Like, could you give us $500 to submit to this and that? And we need an extra $1,000 for our grip truck. Like, I've had to do this, and I'd imagine that you all did too. So you learn from your failures. It's quality. It's acting. I would say acting is directing is 90% like picking good actors. Honestly, it's casting. It really is. Honestly, because if you pick the right cast for your project, your job is to just step out of the way and just let them do their thing. And if they go a little too much this way, you bring them back this way. And if they go a little too much this way, you kind of loop them back in this way. That's what it means to have a good actor and a hungry actors too that are willing to go a step above what it is that it means to be a performer and give you the performance that you need. So I didn't cast that in my first 2 projects. I was just casting homies, friends that like, that I thought like, yeah, man, I want to be on a set with you. But then with my next project or my last project, Manos Oro, I learned, and I cast a very, very strong actor who's been in a lot of very notable projects. You might not know his name, but you might, know his projects. He was in Sicario and Narcos Mexico, Cowboys and Aliens. His name's Julio Cesar Cedillo. He's going to be in my next project. So I made a buddy there, and that helps open a lot of doors at festivals as well. And I'm sure that's something we can talk about as well. Like, does your project have a draw, and does it have a star attached to it? And that I know for a fact that helped us with a 33-minute film like the one that I submitted. We had an actor that if we played locally or in Austin, my actor could drive there and we could present, and sometimes they'll do retrospectives of Sicario because he was in Sicario, so that's a huge draw as well. It's few and far between that things like that happen, but I know that there lately has been a big push for much larger actors like Oscar Isaac and Riz Ahmed appearing in shorts, and they end up winning Oscars. So, there's something to that.
Can I add to that? 'Cause
Yeah.
That's a really good point you say about stars. Yeah, because a lot of people will email and say, right, I've got this short, it's the best short in the world, when clearly it's not always the case. And sometimes these shorts have celebrities in. And I think what I've learned over the past, like probably 15 years since I've been doing this, is if you have a short with no stars in, it has to be really strong to do really well on the circuit, or it can be an okay short with a celebrity in. So here's some good examples. So I worked on a short starring Sadie Frost, who is huge in the UK. When I used to live in the UK, she's married to Jude Law. And there was a film that I worked on, and to be honest, she was not great. And the film was okay. It was shot in 35mm. It had some plot holes in the story, but she was in it, and it did loads of festivals in the UK, and it also got distribution on iTunes. I have a film right now which is currently finishing post-production that stars Tony Todd, who was in Candyman. And there's already some festivals that want it because he's playing Marvin Gaye. So he obviously got paid for that quite a lot of money. It's a big budget, sure. But the film itself doesn't break any boundaries with the biopic, whatever it's called in the UK and USA. And it's good, but it's not outstanding. But he's very good. But a lot of festivals want that already. So that does make a difference. I don't mean like go and make a bad film and hire somebody, But it's just that can be reprogrammed.
Well, and so
Yeah.
So let's talk for a second about good films that don't get into your film festival. So every year, you have films that are really good, but for some reason it just doesn't fit. You have another film that's, for some reason, it's the exact same story, and it does happen. You think your film is super original, but there are same stories, similar films that come in all the time, especially documentaries. Like you get documentaries about the same subjects, like constantly coming in. Or, I've had multiple films in festivals. I had a short documentary I made years ago. It played 25 festivals around the world, won a bunch of best of festival awards, and then didn't get into another 25 film festivals at all. And so as a filmmaker, you don't have to think that because you get rejected by a film festival that your film is bad. It doesn't mean your film it might mean your film's bad, but in general, it doesn't mean your film is bad because your film did not get into a festival, because good films do get rejected. So we'll start down at the other end this way, and we'll come back this way. Bart, can you talk a little bit about reasons why good films do not get into your festival?
I mean, if we hear about the good film early enough and it hasn't played and we want to play it, we pretty much are going to play it. So I would say the only scenario where that happens is if it's 100% not a good fit. Like it's just like it just doesn't fit any sort of vibe that we're going for. Maybe a little bit too mainstream. Might be it. Or B, it just came to us too late. I would say those are probably the only times we would not play a really good film. Otherwise, we're looking for good films. What do you?
But everyone has different opinions on what is a good film, right? Yeah. Like a good film for Oak Cliff may not be a good film for Sunscreen, or
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Dallas, what do you think?
I'd say that usually it is about how many times it's played. If it's a really good film, it's for us, it's where's it been, and do we have something like it? To your point earlier, if we have 3 films that are about elephant riders of the Congo or whatever, and you're just looking at that going, well, shit. Film A has played Sundance, blah blah blah. Film B has played this. Well, this is just as good as those, and it's only played, maybe one other festival, or hadn't played at all. Right. So we'll lean towards that.
What if you already accepted the one that has played around, and then you're screwed?
Then that one's screwed because we already have this, and we can't go back to them, and there's no way to go.
It's a follow-up. How early do you, as a filmmaker asking programmers, how early do you guys start to program? Like, are you starting to program and select your films while those deadlines are still rolling, or do you wait until the window?
Yeah, it's rolling. So as soon as you start opening, like I've like a ritual for me for feature films, especially. As soon as opening happens, I'm watching the first film that's submitted, that, whether it's a short, feature, doc, whatever it is. I'm watching the first film that's submitted on day one.
So that's important.
And our team grows. I'll be real honest with you. Our full team probably doesn't start watching all the films until probably, I'd say, maybe 3 weeks to a month after the deadline, because I'm actually digging in. And then after that, they're heightened. They're, okay, you're watching all these things, and they have their assignments, and they get our screeners. For screening, you screen this many films, you get a pass to the festival. They're screening for passes and T-shirts usually. I don't know if everybody knows, but Sundance, our original senior programmer, Sarah Harris, who's now moved on, she went from us back to AFI, and now she's at Warner Brothers and running their documentary awards department. She used to get paid by Sundance to watch shorts. And I'm thinking, that's the best gig in the world. Then I started realizing, like, how many shorts do you have to watch? Yeah. And you have to watch those forms, and I'll speak to her. She was getting $15 a short. And so it made sense to, like, so at that point, you're going, well, shit, I'm going to watch 500 shorts. But I'm going to have to write 700 pages about shorts.
How much are you getting paid per hour?
Yeah.
Not very
That's
much.
where 15 minutes comes in.
Yeah.
You get $1 a minute.
Yeah. So,
And you know, programming, watching a lot of docs is really depressing.
yes.
It's like
never
6
happy.
docs in a row about how the
It's 1 out
world
of 13.
sucks, and you're kind of like. But you know, the thing about if you get it in early, just think I'm not watching as many things, and I'm happier watching early. So it's like getting in early on gives you kind of an advantage. I mean, I
And
think
you might have to push something out if you wait too long, and
Right.
to the extended deadline or late deadline, whatever the festival has, that's their deadline. You might have to like get over top of something. You might have to be better than everything else because
Yeah.
we've already got these 7 shorts programmed. We don't really need an 8th.
right, you're the first doc about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And if that's really good, that does give you an advantage. So getting there early really does help. I mean, most of the times, if I haven't played something, it's either not right for my festival, or for the TV show, it has too much nudity or language, or the filmmaker doesn't have the rights to the music because it's television, so you have to have the rights to the music.
Yeah.
So there are some kind of reasons for that. Or realistically, if it's too long. But I also program experimental films, and they're all too long.
Well, so I do want to open up questions to the audience here. Any further comments from the panel before we get to the
I
audience?
wanted to get to something that Rebecca does very well. It's like getting beat up from the cast of Love Actually when she calls. Filmmakers, you guys can be belligerent and call.
As you sip on that.
Yeah, as I sip on this.
Yeah.
To reach out to the programmers is one thing, and to the point of a late deadline, if you know or have a relationship with the festival or you have somebody else, that's a good time to get into that late deadline. Otherwise, your film better be good. Or somebody like Rebecca who will reach out near that late deadline. Hello, hi. I've got this really great South African film that's really, really nice, James. They played this real good festival. And aren't you a fan? I'll be very specific about one. She hit me up on a band that I used to like right back when I was growing up, Spandau Ballet, and I did not program the film. But she did a real good job pitching the shit out of that thing. And it was really late in the game. I'm like, oh yeah, but I watched it. So having a relationship with a programmer or a programming team or something like that will help you as you get later in the deadline. And to Bart's point earlier, that same thing going on in that note. I'm reading all those notes and director's statements because I'm just that gives context for me. That
get
is like,
ahead
oh wow,
of it.
that's pretty cool. And the form note where you accidentally put, hey, Dallas International Florida Film Festival. Really, I love that your programming is so good. Like, yeah, you need to go back and fix that.
Proofread.
Yeah, because that's a no.
Yeah, the personalization does make a big difference, and all of the programmers they really do look at that.
Let me go on this be nice thing. So let me do the opposite. Don't be a jerk. I mean,
Just in general.
no, I mean, seriously. There have been films that were kind of nice, but I thought to myself, this person is going to berate my staff. This person is going to be horrible when they come to town because they had done that in the past. And I'm thinking like, I don't need that. And I really don't. And we talk to each other. And if somebody was a problematic person, people will know that.
The blacklist is real.
Well, it's being an alumni is important, and
Yeah.
I mean, we use the term OCLF alumni all the time
Yeah.
because if somebody has done a film and they were a great guest, and then they do another film, I mean, we're not even really watching it sometimes. It's like we want to get your new film, we want to get it, like we hope it's going to be good.
Yeah.
But you came, you did a great job, your film was great.
There
great
is
Q&A.
that moment
Yeah.
where you put it in, you hit play, and I said, I hope this is good.
Yes.
Because I don't want to say I hate your new film to somebody.
Yeah, or you have
who's
a
working
friend that's like, I really want to submit to your festival. Like, please don't do that.
Well, hey, let's open up to the audience here. We got questions. Well, right in the front row.
Okay, so the next film festival is Dallas.
Dallas International.
you were not-
April 28th.
I'm on medical leave right now, so I have all this free time in the world. And I'm gonna ask, is it too late to
Yes.
volunteer?
No.
Never too late.
To volunteer.
You can walk up with a T-shirt and say, "I'm ready to volunteer."
Yeah,
We're
our
gonna
CEO
hire
You thought you were going to ask if it was
CEO
too late
right
to submit.
behind you. She's wearing,
Not there yet.
He was real fast with
wearing
that
all
no.
black. She can take your name. Yes, we love volunteers as much. I swear to God.
Sitting right behind you there,
got
Beth.
PTSD
You'll talk to
right
Beth.
now.
And volunteering is a great way to see what kind of films
Yeah.
are there and learn a lot. So
And I don't know if you remember me.
Yeah. More questions, sir. Over here.
What's the likelihood of a short play being accepted into one of some of these film festivals?
A short play.
Right, a film of a short.
A film of a short play. So it's taking place on stage, and you filmed that, and then you submit it
I
to.
just produced a series of short plays in the East Coast, and anyway, they're all less than 15 minutes.
Oh, it's the magical 15 minutes.
I think I'll speak on from the sunscreen side of things. Typically, when we're looking at a short film, we want to see cinematography and editing, and not just the performance and the acting right there. But so it depends if it's just one camera set up pointed at the stage, or if it's actually like in there filming it and then creating it as a.
It wasn't shot inside the play. There wasn't enough time. We did
Yeah.
6 plays in 12 hours. So there were 3 or 4 cameras of pro shooters and pro sound and everything. But there wasn't a budget for setting live. It was a bunch of short plays. But I imagine short plays are kind of like short stories with the stepchildren. Just about poetry in literature, right?
I think it's hard to say without seeing it. I don't know.
Yeah.
well, if you have a star, or if you have a star, or if the writing is like really critical and like important for our time, metaphor for the Trump years. No, but I'm saying like the.
Funny stuff.
Okay.
But hold on, Bart. Isn't there probably there's a lot of genre film festivals? There's probably a genre for your thing already.
Yeah.
Find the right fit, like we're
There
talking
are
about.
literary film festivals where that would be appropriate, and that's where Search and Film Freeway could be your friend.
Comedy
We hosted a film festival here, which was just movies about paddling the river. It's like there's a film festival for everything.
There is.
So there's probably a film festival for what you did.
You could do one.
more questions. Right here.
I was wondering if each of y'all could describe like the style or the vibe of each film festival that you guys are looking for in the films that are being submitted. Like, what is it that what are the kind of like the requirements or what you guys are looking for?
Sure, because you say the fit. We were talking about fit for the festival.
We should all describe each other.
What is? Yeah.
That would be fun.
Right.
Who's going to go?
I think sunscreen should go first, actually.
Oh.
No, then sunscreen.
Right. Well, I think, kind of to Bart's point a little bit earlier, fit is, you'd have different categories of short blocks. Same thing, we don't label it short block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Comedy block, horror block. There's overcoming adversity block. There's, romance block. So as far as sunscreen goes, I don't know if I would say there's one sort of, it has to be a dark, depressing story where everybody's sad at the end kind of thing, or it has to be like a super upbeat, modern commercial, kind of story. It sounds bad to say, but it's like, we just like what's good. Is it good and it fits the horror block? Is it good and it fits the comedy block? Is it good and it fits the sci-fi block? Whatever's good for those, blocks that we like to build out. And it changes on a year-to-year basis because the types of films are different every single year. I think there's this sort of global consciousness sometimes that people submit the same types of stories on an annual basis, and it changes. Something that we programmed in 2007, may not play today because audiences have changed and audiences are different. They would view it and feel different about it.
Can I ask a question to all of you? Do you get a lot of dramatic short films submitted? Like the most amount of shorts will be dramatic short film, kitchen sink dramas.
Yes.
It's a mix.
I think
I'd say dramatic to melodramatic.
we probably got more docs for, especially when we did DocuFest.
Yeah.
But
Talking about fit.
Yeah.
it's kind of fit, although a lot of documentaries these days are fake documentaries.
Yeah, the mockumentary.
Yeah.
Well, so
Which
I
would be
think,
a lot of
but
fun.
part of what he's saying, just real quick to wrap up, is like, there's all these genre film festivals.
Yeah.
I think all of us don't necessarily run a very specific genre, but maybe Bart, an asterisk was a genre. But all of us play a little bit of all the genres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have a genre in your festival, maybe play those fests, or if not, just play the general fests that fit the kind of vibe you're going for.
Yeah, there are specific films that wouldn't play Diff, but would play ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, there would be a film that we would play. Where they would have 7 Oak Cliff style films.
And you'll have
What's an
one.
Oak
You'll
Cliff
have
style
two.
film?
What to know? I don't know.
Well, that's a good point. I got myself in trouble then. We might play one of. I don't know. I mean, Parker was on our jury last year, and he could probably talk about Boilerplate. Yeah, Parker.
I always found, I think Dick is excited in like the breaking the mold, right? Like the really, really big, impactful moments. I'm gonna talk to the babies, right? But like Oak Cliff was like nitty gritty, right? Like at Oak Cliff, we really like the weird and the wild, and like, you know. Regardless of fest, again, like everyone's saying, like do your research, like look at the films that you're interested in, see where they play, because that's going to inform your decision as a filmmaker as to what stuff you want to see.
And I would say too, even if you don't have a film in a festival, attend film festivals.
Yes.
Because you'll see what other films are playing, and you will also meet the filmmakers there at the festival. I've literally built my entire career off of just attending film festivals.
Volunteer.
Volunteer.
That's the biggest thing you can possibly do. Like if you're a volunteer, then
And going to a festival, because to piggyback what you were talking about, the most important thing in making a short film, narrative film, is to have good actors. I mean, you can blow everything other than like out of focus shots and bad sound, but if you have good acting, that'll save a mediocre script, right? Now, where are you going to meet some actors? There's a short film showcase, right? There's a short part of the festival. You see all the actors over there. You see somebody good. You go up and talk to them. You get their info. Like everybody wants to be like in the new hot young filmmaker. They wanted to find those people. So that's how one way to get actors outside of your comfort zone and people you don't know.
Can I also speak to that just for a quick sec? My last actor in my previous film, I reached out to him on Instagram. Instagram has proven to be like such a valuable tool for me in my career. I despise social media with like a burning passion. I can feel my brain being poisoned every single day, but like it's changed my life. It's changed my career. My DP for my next project, he's in New York. Connected with him and flying him to Dallas to shoot my next movie. Use Instagram, go to these festivals. Who's the young actor who just won Best Actor at the Austin Film Festival or South by or Diff or Oak Cliff? Find those people. Like who was in that project that won that award? Send them a message on Instagram. Hey, I saw your film at Oak Cliff last year. I loved it. Here's my script for my next project. Here's a log line. Would you be interested? Or vice versa. A lot of actors, they reach out to me on Instagram as well. Have a presence if you're a filmmaker on social media. For as much as you might hate it, it really goes a long way. Several actors have contacted me, like, hey man, here's my headshot, here's my reel, just think of me, put me in anything. And 3-4 years will go by, and I'll think, wait, I know that guy. I'll put him in something, and I did. And one of my actors, a young high school kid, who's at Lambda right now, studying acting in London. I mean, one of the like Juilliard and Lambda, like the two biggest acting schools in the world. He reached out to me on Instagram. He was 17 years old, and now I'm going to put him in my movie. That's a connection that was made. Right, so use these tools to your advantage if you're a young filmmaker.
Good.
Slip into
It's some of this side. Let's go over in the corner there.
That's fine.
I had a question about how we're talking about programming having a strategy for putting a festival, putting a film in festivals that are in the same city. Does that kind of burn bridges as like a filmmaker? Like, I don't know what's going to accept my film. I'm going to submit to everybody in New York. I get to 2 in New York. I have to pull out from one of them.
Yeah.
Or, if we're in Dallas, I'm going to submit to everybody. I'm going to accept it. Diff accepts it. Oak Cliff accepts it. Is it an understanding of, I understand you can't pick everybody? Or is there kind of like I wish you kind of picked us, so the next film you do, we'll remember that? Like, what is kind of background on that?
We had this happened to a friend of mine who did a film last year. He called me up to ask me. He was submitting to festivals in Oklahoma, and he got in one, really wanted to be in the other one, and the other one was more prestigious. And he was waiting, but the other one, the lesser one, wanted to book him now. And he waited. And I talked to Barack about this. I called him up because I was like, you have more experience than me. What should he do here? And I think your advice at the time was just be honest with them. If you have a target one that you're looking for, they know that the other film festival is probably more prestigious. Like the film festivals know which one. I mean, they might get, if they get, butthurt or something like that about it, then that's fine. But I mean, you have to also look out for yourself in that way. I mean, I would not recommend missing out on another film festival that you really want to, just to, play at this one that you don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah, I don't think here we're not gonna, well, except for one, we're not going to hold it against you in Dallas.
One film or one festival?
Anyway, so it'll be fine here. But to your point about New York, was that an actual experience you said in New York, or it was hypothetical?
Well, I heard you guys kind of.
Okay, yeah, someplace like New York, hell, even Los Angeles. I mean, there can be some, Austin especially. That's cutthroat down there, man. I mean,
Austin.
it's angry.
But if you are going to do this, do it relatively early. Don't do it after the press release has gone out with your name on it and the program book is in process and all of that is happening. That would be really bad.
If it's in print, you're screwed. You're locked in. Then you are going to piss somebody off. If they printed something and then you just say, I'm not going to go there, I'm going to play this one a month later, it'd be different.
What I suggest as well is when we do with the film, for example, there's a client of mine who's in New York and he wants to do, all of New York festivals because it's easy for him to travel to and so on and so forth. So what I do is we submit to all the festivals that would be the most suitable for the film. And then say a festival in New York gets back to us that runs in October, but the other one he really wants is November. I ask that festival, could you tell us in advance if it's got in? Because if not, then, we'll withdraw. And they're honest about it and they give us an answer. You just have to ask them, call them or email them, and it helps. So just, don't worry about, should I submit to the Chelsea Film Festival because they've got a premiere that's New York? Or what about Stony Brook? What about the New York Mental Health Festival? All that kind of stuff, So do it and then juggle it when the time comes.
Sometimes a filmmaker, they'll submit and they'll say, because they moved, Tribeca moved from June to April now, right?
No, vice versa.
April to June, that's right. Moved
just before us now.
Yeah, that's right. So it used to be, because Sunscreen's end of June, they would submit and say, I've submitted to Tribeca. If we get into Tribeca, I can't play yours, so I'm waiting. And so if we don't make Tribeca, then we'll do Sunscreen. And we're like, all right, that's fine, whatever. And you watch the film, you're like, yeah, there's no way you're getting into Tribeca. But you don't tell them that. You just wait for it to happen. But
you just program it knowing that we're going to be fine.
Yeah, we got this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Now you're playing here.
Up top there.
One thing I've heard is that shorts that are often trying to be features or could be features or have the potential to be features don't do well. So do you think there's any truth to that?
Well, shorts as a proof of concept it's very common. I mean, you can Google shorts that have become features and the list is forever long.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to this just for a quick second. I'm in the middle of doing this right now, putting a proof of concept short together for my feature. Learned a lot along the way, but here's what I can tell you based on just what I've researched and understood. Short, I mean, just by default, like the template typically is start late and leave early, right? But that short film should live and breathe without the knowledge of the feature film coming in the future, right? Like if the feature film never got made, that short still needs to stand on its own two legs and exist as its own story, as its own compelling film that doesn't hinge on, but you gotta wait till the feature comes out in like 5 years, So yeah, don't try to cram a feature film story into a short. I've tried to do it.
That's the key.
Yeah, that is the key. Yeah,
do it.
Yeah, I mean, the most successful shorts, the ones that get into these big festivals, the ones that end up even getting Oscar qualifying and even get nominated, they typically have the following format: start late, leave early, and they're just like a very long scene of something.
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on and on, and you build the stakes, and the tension gets higher and higher and higher. Versus like spanning a year, 3 years later, doing flashbacks. Like for shorts, that's not gonna cut the mustard, So just tell one story very well.
It needs to be a standalone short that has an ending.
Yes.
Because I actually had to turn down a short that was actually produced by Hulu, and it was a proof of concept. And it starts off like, this is really interesting. And then it doesn't end. This monster goes, blah. And that's it. And then I was like, well, that's a bit shortchanged. And I said, well, the whole point of it is to get people interested and then put the money into the feature. But it doesn't work.
But that's not for short that's not for film festivals. Then something like that is it's a
That's
pitch
more of a
to-
pitch.
It's a pitch.
Yeah,
to-
yeah, it's a trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
The best feature, best short to feature I've ever seen was a winner at the Deep Ellum Film Festival, and it's Palooka, which turned into Napoleon Dynamite. It's 8 minutes, and you watch that thing. It has only thing that's from the from the short to the feature is pretty much John Heater. That's it. Everything else, John Heater and a He-Man toy. So everything else, and you watch that, you go, oh, I could totally see Napoleon Dynamite coming out of this. So to that point, yeah, you make the best short you can, and then don't worry about, oh, this is the 12-minute intro to my feature. No.
Great. What about back over here again?
Like you guys are talking about volunteering for film festivals, and I think to get more specific for the filmmaker who wants to hone their craft, volunteer to not just be a part of the film festival runs, but to be on the submissions team, on the programming team, to look at these things, because you will see all the things you shouldn't do, and you will see things that work, and you'll be able to take that into your craft.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
Research. Yeah, it's research.
Yeah, how do you choose the screening team for your festivals? Like, who's watching? That's a big question, filmmakers. Who's watching my film to help decide whether it goes into?
I mean, it's a team. Usually, it's in generalities. It's people who it's film programmers, people who make films, people in the industry, curators. As opposed and people who are involved in film. Like sometimes we've been pitched, oh, so and so is an art curator. Well, I don't know if maybe they should be on the art film, but maybe they shouldn't, watch narrative film or something like that. So that's usually how we pick our program team.
Sam,
Bart.
let me just say, your point is really great. I strongly recommend anybody who's making a film to be on a selection committee.
Yeah.
You will never look at a film the same way.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Like you will understand the mindset of people who have to watch 30 films before the sun goes down, and you kind of get it, and then you won't have that long shot on the table. I know all that. So it's what can cure your bad short film disease.
We usually pick, it's to Barack's point, it'll be industry folks, and then, quite frankly, we have people that come to our film festival over the last 17 years that have probably seen as many films or more films than I, and so I sort of vet them and go, all right, let's talk. We'll go maybe get a coffee or something, and we'll go through and I'll sort of go over with them. So I'm very hands-on about people who are going to be screening our films, and it's like, all right, yeah, you may not be making films, but you understand films. We have quite a few critics on our screening committee, and they write some beautiful, 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 angry things about films, and I love it. Like, oh, cool, I don't have to watch that at all because that's terrible. But I love that we break it out because I want people that are going to movies to actually maybe have opinion on this as well, because like, hey, there are people that are actually sitting in the audience and they're watching films, they're watching television, they're consuming all this information, and so their opinion is a lot to me. That's something we started about 5 years ago, is bringing audience people that are, that watch a lot of things into the festival.
Great. More right here.
How important is it for you to get a notable composer?
Oh.
And how important is it?
A notable composer, just have a composer who's good.
Yeah.
Well, and as a point,
Like a musician or
next week's workshop is on getting your music into film.
Well, there you go.
So getting
But I mean-
films, getting music for your films, and getting your music into films with both.
But are you talking about like having like an established musician who like is now dabbling into film scoring? Or?
You guys are talking about having a star.
Sure.
To kind of bring it out.
Huh.
Is having a composer who works on Netflix, HBO Max, stuff like that, to have to bring that kind of weight to it that go to.
We're not going to know that immediately, as long as it sounds good.
Yeah, if we put it in the notes.
Put it in the notes, like this is that might get seen.
Yeah,
but
it's something to start looking out for. Like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to the score more
yeah.
because it just was.
I mean,
told
that's
to me.
any above the line job. You just put the
Yeah.
credits of what they've worked on. That's helpful.
Whatever's going to help promote your film, put it in there. You
Right.
know, if it's an actor that's up and coming, if they're, when you were making the film, maybe they weren't in something yet, but since then has blown up. I mean, yeah, you definitely want to. Maybe they weren't as established yet, and there was, it was a year prior or whatever. I mean, we've programmed stuff like that before, where somebody along the way, like, oh, now they're in the show.
It's probably not the most determinative factor, but if you have somebody who's really good, like when you make a film, you survey your resources. What do I have that nobody else does? And if that's your ace, you got to run that. But one other thing about music, it's like you can never recover from bad music disease. Like, if I don't like the music you have in your opening sequence, there's zero chance I'm going to like your film. Because that shows me your taste. And your taste is part of what we're looking at as well as the craft. So please choose wisely.
Bart's all about opening sequence.
Get that.
That's right. It's just it's valid though.
Well,
gotta get you in there.
You get me at the beginning, you got me.
Good.
I have been following the rule that you mentioned, the shorter the better. I even heard a saying that the best short film is just one scene. So
One scene.
Like I see in one scene in the story.
A long scene, like a long scene.
Yeah, that's something I heard. So all my short films are less than 10 minutes. And from experience, it did help me to enter short film festivals. Like there are a few times there the pre-screening of a feature, so that's my advantage. However, I did some research on Oscar qualifying film festivals. Usually, I found the majority of the best short film, they are usually 15 to 25 minutes. They're all like, I didn't find one that is less than 10 minutes.
So can everybody hear what he was saying? He was saying that he's made a lot of 10-minute short films, but then he started looking at Academy qualifying films, and they're 15 to 25 minutes for the best short films. Right.
I mean, just a flip side on that, because with Texas Theater, we play those Academy Shorts programs, and they're all pretty long. So everything we're saying about making shorts, maybe you shouldn't listen to that.
What's the different voting? What's the different voting mechanism?
But it's got to be good.
Those two? Yeah.
Let's go back and rewind and give advice.
The real question is, what do you want to make?
Yeah.
If the film that you want to make and your goal is to get an Academy Award-winning short, then that is probably a better idea. But that would mean that on this other audience, you may have to be more problematic for. So understanding what your goal, and you should sort of think of that all the time. It's like, what am I trying to do with this short? What is it? What is success for this short going to mean to me?
But now, if I'm on the screenwriting stage, I actually can choose whether I want a 10 or 20 minute short film. So my question to you is, when you watch those thousands of short film submissions, do you have a favorite length of short film?
A favorite length. Do you have a favorite length?
Length.
And so you were just saying, you're in a screenwriting stage. It could be 10 minutes. It could be 20 minutes. It should just be as long as it takes to tell the story. The concise, tight, good story. If that's 20, it's 20. If it's 10, it's 10. But just focus on the story. Don't focus on the length. Don't think about the length. Just focus on telling the best story that you can.
Don't overanalyze. Sorry. Yeah. Don't overanalyze. Like I was saying earlier. Just yeah.
It's that. I was just going to say that. Here's what not to do is to say, I have this story, then try to reverse engineer into like a story into 15 minutes. Don't do that, right? Like let the story unfold. Let it have a natural start and a natural end. And if it's too long, we'll trim. Get it to 15 if you really need it to get to 15. But if your story is 12 minutes and you're desperately trying to get it to 20, then you're just adding things to your story that that don't need to be there.
Yeah, there's not like the rules where it's got to fit within. It's not a 10-minute film fest. Maybe it is, but then make a 10-minute film.
Yeah,
just don't. You don't have to try to cram it into a certain window. Just tell the story.
Yeah, just tell the story. I think tell the best story that you can at the length that it needs to. Again, I made a 33-minute film. I did not think I was going to get into as many festivals as I did, but I had press and I had leverage with an actor. So if you're going to make a long film, it better not just be good. I mean, it better knock the socks off of programmers and or press or an actor like we did. So use all that to your advantage. But yes, you're right. That I've noticed that too. All the films that get Oscar nominated, they're 20 minutes, 25 and above, sometimes 30. But you shouldn't go into it like saying, "Well, I got to make it 30 because I need that Oscar." Right. So just be mindful of that, but let it be what it needs to be.
I need that Oscar.
Just tell your story. We're going to go over here, and then we'll go back over here.
Like gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Animation is very hard.
Animation is probably the one that is, for us, we have a 3-minute to 25-minute time frame. That's our thing. And the only time we'll break that time frame for the less is for an animated short. Because animated shorts are just freaking amazing.
They're unique.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always a unique. If you got like 25 films and 3 of them are animated, the way you look at the animated films is going to be. You're just going to look at it with a different set of eyes because it's unique.
You get a lot less
Yeah.
animated submissions as
Yeah.
well because it can take a year to make a 3-minute animated short. So there's a lot less of them that come in. So your competition is less as well because there aren't as many other short animated films that are being submitted.
And generally, they're more fun to watch.
Yes. Yeah. They are a lot of fun. Over here.
I have a question, writing, and you mentioned editing. Like cutting, you can always cut it later. Do you mean editing, or did you mean in writing, and how do you approach that?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask that.
Anyone.
Sorry. Ask that again, Abby. I'm sorry. I get credit.
Cutting and editing or cutting when you're
So-
writing.
Cutting the writing or cutting the film once it's
before
done.
you
short?
shoot or after?
You're gonna do both, no matter what. So yeah.
Never
just-
fuck your film.
Yeah. I mean, look, that saying, we've all heard it as filmmakers. Like, you make a movie, you write a movie 3 times in pre-production on the script, in production on set, and then in post when you're editing, right? I don't subscribe to a minute a page. I think that's BS, to be honest. That never translates. Like, if you have a 15-minute script, you'll end up having like a 22-minute movie, honestly. At that point, you start to just trim the fat and say what's absolutely, like, if there are any redundancies in your edit, beats that have already been done or that are just too long, find a way to like montage it, find a way to like just cut it completely. If it's not sacrificing your story, like just not collapsing it completely, then get rid of it. I had to kill a lot of my darlings, and my first cut of Mano Zoro was 49 minutes. So I got it down to 33. So I left a lot on the cutting room floor, but none the wiser. You watch it and you'll think, well, the story was what it needed to be, but really on the page, oh my God, it was full of this and that, and you know.
It could probably always be shorter.
Yeah.
By the way, like I worked in TV a lot before I started with film festival stuff in the theater, and I started out as an editor, and I was cutting shows that like I had to fit like certain acts and like the commercial breaks here, so this has got to be that. But the original cut was always longer, and my always rule was when I was editing was, what am I going to miss this? So I would, save that sequence, do another one, and then go back and watch them again. And if this 6-minute one, did I miss anything in the 9-minute or the 6-minute from the 9-minute? Probably not.
Or show it to people
Easy,
too.
done,
Like show people the 10-minute version and the 15-minute version. And if in the 10-minute version they feel they're missing something, well then, they try to work it back in. Find a happy middle ground. 10, 12, 13 minutes. See
So
what
you're saying, be willing to leave your baby at the fire.
100%. Kill your darlings. Kill your darlings.
Yes.
But if you can find somebody else to edit your film who's
Yeah.
a good editor, because your natural inclination was, I got to have that dolly shot in because I stayed up all night making that happen.
Yeah.
And if your editor says that has to go, because you won't do it yourself.
What shot are you talking about? The one that's really good. What shot is that? The one that was like, it was I don't know. It's just, they don't care. Yeah.
But really, it would make such a difference to bring somebody else in, another voice.
Yeah.
And it's also, and it's also really important that
Bart's editor.
it's also really important that the script is as strong as it can be before you go into production, because you can't change a bad script in post-production.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you really work on it before you start shooting, because it really is important to do that, because they all know when they see it if the script needs work.
All right, so we're pushing a little after 8 o'clock here. We'll do just a couple more. You guys good for a couple more questions before we wrap up? Yeah, all right. I'm trying to hit all sides of the room here, so we'll go far corner, and then we'll work our way. We'll try and work our way across a couple more. So, what advice would someone give to an aspiring filmmaker? I couldn't hear everything you're saying. Oh, without film school.
Volunteer.
Yeah. What's the path without film school? Well, I didn't go to film school at first when I started making
I didn't
stuff. Merced.
I didn't either. Yeah, I went to UT. I studied advertising because I was too chicken to major in film. I didn't think a Latino from Oak Cliff had any business making movies, and I did it. So, you can too.
Yeah, you just start making it. I mean, even if you're just shooting it on a cell phone, just start making stuff and make as much as you can, because the more you make, the better you get.
Go to events like this.
Yeah.
Wherever you live. Just try to network, get in the find things that are happening locally. Again, keep going back to volunteer. I mean, you learn a lot by volunteering at a film festival if you're trying to get into film and you want your film to eventually be in a film festival.
And
That's where you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
You learn on the set. It does get
Yeah.
experience. I should say, because I teach, going to film school is a good idea. And we have some great ones in the area.
Yeah.
So you can't do both.
Yeah, but seriously, getting on, like the film commission, they know what's happening in the city, but finding out what film sets are happening and interning or PA on a film set, you can actually see equipment.
You're going to
see
work
how
for
things
free
work.
for a while, volunteering and stuff.
Yeah, I interned when I was in college at a production company, and I literally don't know what I would have done if I didn't. And I say this, Brock's heard me say the story like 1,000 times. He's annoyed by it by now. But every time we go to speak to any kind of career thing at North Texas, where we both went, if I didn't intern for free in like the early 2000s and drive from Denton to Dallas all the time to go to this production house, I literally have no idea where I would have ended up in the industry. I knew what I wanted to do, but I had no idea how to get there. And I just told this company I would help them for free, and they took me in, hired me after college, and I worked there for like 7 years before I went freelance. Like it was.
I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I interned at a company in Austin called Revelator. I begged them. I said, just don't pay me anything. I just want to be your production intern. That led to a development internship, and then that led me to work at AMS Pictures here in Dallas for 2 years as a production coordinator.
Nobody complains about free help. Like they're not. You could be terrible at it.
Yep.
And if you're not a jerk, they're going to keep asking you to come back because you're just doing the job that we asked you to do. It doesn't matter if you didn't know it. If you tell them you don't know it, they're not going to get mad at you. I mean, we're all humans. Like, you know, we have interns. I have interns. We had interns at the Texas Theater. And, you know, I'm not going to get mad at a volunteer who just didn't know what they were doing during the film festival. I'll try to tell them what they should have done. But, I mean, if you ask for help to help somebody for free, they're not going to say no.
Yeah, not just film festivals, but jobs, careers. And when I've been in the position to hire people many times over the years, I'd rather hire somebody with a great attitude and no experience than a ton of experience and a bad attitude all day long.
We just did this career Kickstarter thing that Brock and I were at UNT. I told the little group we had, I said, if I'm talking to like two guys or girls or whatever that are like really, like one's an awesome audio tech and they're great at holding a boom mic and one doesn't know shit, but the one who's great is an ass, I'm never going to call that one again. I'll just rather teach the one who's nice. Like I'd rather teach them how to do it because they're just a good person. So it goes back to just being not a jerk.
Yes.
You know?
It's a lot of life. It's not being a jerk.
Yeah.
So it's not just how to get your short film into film festivals. This is life lessons panel today as well. Life lessons from the film.
Like what not to say, what not to do, show up on time, and all that stuff.
Show up early. Yeah.
Yes, I know the whole thing about knowing your audience marketing, but I ask you for advice. Which one is better, a PG-13 film or a rated R film, or better yet, an R-rated film?
For submitting to, so are you something you're creating or?
Like submitting your work to festivals, like which one is more likely to be chosen? A rated R film or a PG-13 like film?
Sure. Well, first, short films don't typically have ratings, but I guess you're giving it a comparative. If it did have a rating, it would be PG-13 or R.
Because you have to know your audience, like
what
type of people are watching your films. You know?
And again, I think that kind of goes back to sometimes depends on fit for the festival. We have a feature film at Sunscreen this year that's shot in Ibiza, and it's a really great dramatic film. It's got nudity in it, and so we're going to play it, even though it has nudity. But let everybody know, hey, there's nudity in this film before you go in. So festivals will kind of maybe give a warning, hey, this short film block, it's a horror block, and maybe it's pretty gory. Maybe you don't want your little kids coming in. So again, make the film that you want to make, and then see what the fit is for.
Well, so this question actually brings me up a question I have for you guys. Like, a lot of the films we play in film festivals, features and shorts, are not rated or anything. Should we be giving warnings about everything we're showing, or assuming that it's all rated PG or rated, NC-17? I mean, from the Oak Cliff Film Festival's perspective, unless it's something very extreme, we don't give any warning.
I just know what to expect.
We don't give we've given warnings on stuff that's pretty racy.
We're giving a warning on the film probably maybe this year, right?
If we play that one, for sure.
I thought it was locked.
But I'm actually curious from James and Bart's perspective.
We do. It's funny. We'll go through every film and we will put. It's kind of funny. And my CEO is here, and she'll go, "What?" I go, "Yeah." There'll be a mature label on probably like 75% of the things in the festival. It's just that way. We have a family section sometimes that's for family films, but everything else, it's one of those things where you don't know who you might offend, so it's a CYA situation for us sometimes. Like, you know what? before I get that letter, I'm just going to go ahead and put this on there. It's not going to deter anybody from coming in, technically, because it's kind of small enough to the side. But it's there. Just, oh, yeah, well, we told you there was going to be some beheading nudity going on in this thing.
Babies, guns.
But it's usually an adult audience, right? You know, you don't have a lot of kids that usually attend film festivals, so
they don't drink, so we don't, you know.
Well, if you program it on like Sunday afternoon, like you and I were talking about this earlier, like, you know, if you program it Sunday afternoon at 2:00, you're probably not going to
Right.
the baby gun.
You're probably not going to see the sex.
yeah, that's why you'll see a lot of festivals have like a late night section. You know, this is the after hours
That's in
section.
Texas.
You know, the after hours section is going to be, you know, a little darker, a little more twisted, a little more whatever it might be. You know, R.
Well, I currently work on a film which has a full frontal suicide, and there's certain festivals who just said our audience cannot take this, and there are some that, oh, this is great, you know, put it in the midnight shorts block, and some put a warning before the film, saying if you know, it contains very sensitive issues and it could be disturbing to some viewers if they have to leave. So
Yeah.
So
We'll
if you're thinking of wanting to be in as many festivals as possible, I think having more of those issues might limit you from some places. And like for my TV show, Frame of Mind, it's on public television. There's no way I could run that. I would have to like keep editing all that audio out. But just if you're trying to get as broad as possible, like I would not do that. But if you think the film that you want to make will play at late night programs and other festivals, and that's who you are, that you want that to fit that, by all means, that's what you should do.
yeah. And that film I just mentioned, we had several distribution deals for it, but we can't go ahead with them because YouTube do not allow that kind of content, the same with sexual content as well. So at the minute I'm trying to say to the director, can you please maybe edit around it? But he's like, well, it's my vision, so.
I know, they kind of self-censoring, but I understand.
Yeah.
Sure. Good. All right, we'll do one more right here, and then we'll wrap it up.
My question specifically is having to do a little bit more copyright. So it's not like using another intellectual property as like the baseline of your story, but using a story like say the Sherlock Holmes series, like based on that kind of like say novels or that film specifically. Could stories like that make it into the film festivals and Oak Cliff or Film Freeway? How would they fare against other?
So if you made like a Sherlock Holmes short film, basically.
Yeah, any story, like either novel based or like a story that's like I guess you consider in the journalistic term evergreen, that like is timeless and it can be told in any sort of way. How can those films fare against others, or will they ever be accepted in those kind of festivals?
I think that goes back. We're all like, it goes back to one of those things. You still have to see it again, right? Like it's hard to say theoretically this film will or won't. If you're asking, you know, will copyright law, would it be allowed to be into a festival? I mean, festivals can kind of play whatever they want.
Well, I think if you're asking if it's something is public domain or not, or if it has to be cleared, in general, even if you're making a film that's not going to be distributed by Warner Brothers, when you submit it to us, you actually, you know, if we accept your film, you actually sign something that say you've cleared everything in your film.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to probably ask you for your clearances, but you know, if you've got a Weezer song in the opening title and your movie looks like it cost $500, I might be like, I don't know if they cleared this. So yeah, you should clear your movie, music, and your story. If Sherlock Holmes is PD, maybe it is. I don't know.
Music is usually the big one, more so than there's a lot. There are so many short films I've seen based off of Edgar Allan Poe stories, and that happens all the time. People are.
I would say for us though, I mean, if you're doing a specific, like if you're doing a Sherlock Holmes story, I mean, it better star like, you know, I don't know, a trans dog or something. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to play something that you could read about.
OCFF film.
Yeah, it's just.
Thoughts, you got that one? I'll take
I got
it.
that one.
Now, if you got the Spanish language black and white Sherlock Holmes version of it, you know, that's interesting.
That might, it's got to be something. But if you're doing a straight cis thing, I'm like going to go.
If you do it as a parody, then that is legal.
Yeah.
Right? So there are ways to work around that. Also, you should learn about fair use and what is fair use.
Have you ever seen South Park?
But
They've got
just realize this. Like, why give a festival a chance to say no to your film because they think it might not be copyrighted? You know, it might not be clear.
Yeah, do that homework beforehand.
I mean, I've had to clear several songs with Universal and Sony, like beforehand with Manos Dodo, and it's a pain in the ass. So.
I mean, there is such a thing, if you want to get in the weeds, this is the whole thing about festival clearance for music.
Yeah.
But I don't, that's not the topic of this conversation, but that is a thing.
We will be talking about music next week.
Yeah.
Here at the Texas Theater at 6:30 p.m.
But we just side note, we just showed a film at the Texas Theater, it's a documentary locally made, and we showed a rough cut of it, very clearly noted a few years ago, and he took him 4 years to clear the music.
Rough.
And
That's
then,
the key word.
and then we showed it again.
I think I knew that.
Yeah, well, it's the Stevie Ray Vaughan movie, and which has the Stevie Ray, it has all the people in it, so you assume they cleared the music, but that's complicated music to clear.
Yes, very complicated.
So anyway, that wasn't your question specifically, but copyright, yes, you should clear everything.
Just don't, I mean, you don't want the film festival to do any work, and we don't need to research if we could use it or not, if you should use it. Like, that's what you should do. Don't give us a reason not to take your film.
Yeah.
Right, that's the key.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's give the panelists a round of applause here.